This program is brought to you by Emory University.
My name is Yoon Hang Kim, and the topic that I want to talk to you about is a word that you may not even have heard of, which is integral medicine. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you one of the greatest minds of last century and a little bit of this century. Despite all our gains in technology, product innovation, and world markets, most people are not thriving in the organizations they work for. And this is very important, and because I think that this is really important in that most of you will be working. Yeah, right? You're in Emory University, you're hoping that after this there's something that you're hoping to do after this, and you will be part of an organization, and that organization will have access to innovations, technology. But the thing is that we don't really have a technology to make people thrive in that organization. So I just want to talk to you about it. How many here have any work experience? Okay, excellent. So the next slide will make more sense. A conventional organization that is not integral organization is profit-centered, it's mission-centered, and people are disposable as commodity for profit and mission. And the workers are viewed as easily replaceable. How many people at work have seen this in the workplace? Okay, and you're young and you're saying this. Imagine if you're 50 and fresh out of a job and trying to look for a job. Not very easy. Integral organization is a bit different idea. It talks about team development, team sustainability. It is mission-centered, but the mission of the organization includes supporting and assisting team members to reach their highest potential as relating to mission, team development, and team sustainability. And I'm bringing this up because in the society that we live in right now, there's a common and very deadly mental illness, and especially in our corporate sector. Do you know what that is? Irrational greed. Irrational greed. So you see that even from the banking sectors all the way to healthcare sectors are driven by profit. And the healthcare sectors especially, I think we're beginning to see some serious repercussions of that. And what I believe, what my path, what I'm doing is about one way to remedy that. This is according to the President Obama, who says that state of health in the United States today, we're spending over $2 trillion on healthcare, almost 50% more per person than next most costly nation. Yet for all this spending, more of our citizens are uninsured and quality of care is often lower and we're not any healthier. So basically, we're throwing money at the problem and the problem is getting worse. Problem is getting worse and worse. And Mr. Obama continues that citizens in some countries spend substantially less are doing actually better than we do. Make no mistake, the cost of healthcare is a threat to our economy. It is escalating burden on families and businesses. It's a ticking time bomb for federal budget. It is unsustainable for the United States of America. So this is a video footage that I want to play that will give you an idea of the topic that why I'm here today. And
all I hear is how we're going to give more people access to the present system and how we're going to pay for it. But the present system doesn't work, and it's going to take us down. We need a whole new kind of medicine. We don't have a healthcare system in this country. We have a disease management system.
Many people have a hard time believing that these simple choices that we make in our lives each day can make such a powerful difference.
The American healthcare system, it's generating rivers of money that are flowing into very few pockets.
In the health insurance industry, at the executive level, what's most important is meeting Wall Street's expectations. And they have to. These for-profit companies, by law, have to serve shareholders. You almost forget what you're doing is providing health care.
The healthcare system is unsustainable. We're really mortgaging the future. Not just the health of healthcare, we're talking about the health of the nation.
in a community health center like where I work, the administration is telling you, you need to see more patients. We're in the red. So it sounds like you're feeling really overwhelmed right now. Sorry. Don't be sorry. I can't spend the time with a patient and end up kind of being this revolving door and just never get to the bottom of things.
When you reward physicians for doing procedures instead of talking to patients, that's what they're going to do, is do procedures. If I spend 5 minutes with you and put it in one of these stents, I probably get paid 8,000 on up. For me to spend 45 minutes on an established visit with a patient and to try to figure out what their true problem is, I probably get paid $15. It's a completely irrational system.
30,000 Medicare recipients die each year from care they didn't need. That's the equivalent of a jumbo jet crashing every single week. If the aviation industry killed as many people, we'd be up in arms.
How did we come to believe that the only way to treat disease is by giving drugs?
The military is a microcosm of what the problem society's having.
Soldiers' use of prescription drugs has tripled in the past 5 years.
When you're deployed, they feed you, feed you, feed you, feed you. All this stuff just to keep you going. Mission, mission, mission. This medication is I was on.
Most of the disease that we deal with is lifestyle related and therefore preventable. We've got to move in the direction of disease prevention and health promotion.
And safely, we provide incentives for people to engage in healthy behavior. We've improved the health of our workforce, the productivity of our workforce, and our own bottom line. So making money and doing good in the world are not mutually exclusive.
Here at the Cleveland Clinic, we're all salaried. What we do for a patient is dependent on what the patient needs, not on our financial incentives.
The Army Surgeon General directed that we establish the Pain Management Task Force to take a look at alternatives to narcotics.
I'm 2.5 months out of combat. I was skeptical. So skeptical. I am a complete new person.
By accepting the fact that the healthcare system is badly broken, we can seek out the escape fires, the potential solutions, and create a sustainable and patient-centered system for the future.
If you don't take care of you, nobody else will.
And I can do that.
Yeah, you can.
So there were three physicians there that Dr. Weil, whom I trained with, and the female physician that was me about 15, 20 years ago. I felt exactly like she did. When I was training just out of medical school, what happened is that about 3-year period is when the HMO revolution really took place. When I first entered residency, initial patients, I spent an hour. By the end of residency, I would see a new patient 20 minutes. Just big changes. And so what had happened to me is that just like that physician who were torn between giving good care and doing the duty as a physician in that healthcare company, and basically I just decided that I have to find a way that will work for me and develop a different way to do medicine and also develop a different way to create a corporation. And that's what I want to share with you today. 2009, there was a big meeting in DC, and there was Institute of Medicine convened a summit on integrative medicine and health of the public. So you have about 600 people, experts, practitioners, scientists, policy experts, academics, industry leaders, all got together and said, what is the state of health and what is the role of integrative medicine? So basically, there are some points they walked away with. They said that our country needs to do something about our primary care. We need to do something about chronic diseases. And this is very significant because the healthcare system that everyone who is writing, my understanding is that they're videotaping this lecture And also, I can provide you the slides if you email me, or I can provide it to Dr. Lampo. But basically, our medical system has been designed 100 years ago when people were dying of diseases, infectious diseases. And today, number 1, 2, 3 disease causes of death are all lifestyle related. So number 1, heart disease. Number 2, cancer. Number 3, stroke. And those are all lifestyle related. And they also said that changes in education will fuel the changes in practice. And I do believe that. When I first went to medical school, I was called out to the dean's office. I says, Dr. Kim, you got Howard Hughes Fellowship? That's very good for you. Now, I understand that you're also very active in alternative medicine. That's very bad for you. So, just those of you who watched the movie Matrix, it's like you're being called out. You said, this is good, this is not so good. So what I did is I continued with medical research and the alternative medicine. I just kept it quiet. I read, went to conferences, and sought out teachers. Changes, they're also calling that we need to do clinical and cost-effectiveness studies, which I think that is going on because Dr. Weil just created a clinic in Phoenix for the employees of a whole county called Maricopa County near Phoenix. And they have an integrative medicine clinic which is designed for research. This is Dr. Weil and myself in Tucson, 2004, 10 years ago. And he said, imagine a world oriented toward healing rather than disease, whereas physicians believed in natural healing capacity of human beings and emphasized prevention over treatment. In such a world, doctors and patients would be partners working towards same ends. And that is what motivated me. I wanted to be a partner with my patient rather than revolving door, just treat people and street them. That's what we would say. You treat and street, and you turf patients. What that means is that since you don't have a lot of time, you write a prescription, you write a test, you order X-ray, MRI, or you send them to a specialist. And then you bought yourself some time. And then the problem is that you do that, they're supposed to get better. They don't. And they come back, and it's like, guess what? You sent me to orthopedic doctor, they did a procedure, now hurting more. What am I supposed to do? Or you send the patient with fibromyalgia. How many in the room know what fibromyalgia is? Have you heard of it? Okay, some people. Fibromyalgia is an illness where you have a lot of pain, but there is no evidence of pain, inflammation in the body. So you would send them to specialists in rheumatology, and those days they didn't believe in it. They said, oh, it's in your head. And that patient would come back crying, saying that rheumatologist said that nothing's wrong with me, but I really need a psychiatrist. And what I started doing was in family medicine, and I did that, and I walked away from graduating in 6 months because I saw what that doctor saw, and I wanted a different path for myself. So what I did is I went about 2 months into national forest, and I meditated, fasted, not the entire time, and I walked away, and I said, okay, I want to do something for myself, but also for society. And after that, I went to UCSD, completed the program, got a master's in public health, in health promotion, and then I learned Chinese medicine, and then after that, went to train with Dr. Weil at University of Arizona for 2 years, and now I'm a director of a system. I'm also working for University of West Georgia, where I've created an Integrative Health Studies certificate program. So I've studied a lot with different masters. Like in that movie, there is a gentleman who created this military acupuncture program. I studied under him for 2 years. I've also studied with Dr. Weil. And while I was in the fellowship, I had good enough budget that I could travel almost every weekend. I would be either conference, visiting on another program, or doing consulting for hospitals and other programs. And what I found out is that you have to master each skill set. For Western medicine, master that, and then master Chinese medicine. After that, learn how to do naturopathy, learn how to do osteopathy separately, and then the second thing you have to then do is create interdependence of the technique, and then learn how it can unlock the synergy. Only then you can call it integrated. Because A lot of places, what they do is they erect a building, and then they take an ad out, literally, and say, okay, director wanted. And then director wanted, okay, we want an acupuncturist, we want a doctor, we want a nurse. And what happens is that all these different people come in with different skill sets, different education, and no thought goes in building the team. So guess what happens? It's like different tracks in the railroad system. They all go separately, never cross. Then guess what patients have to do? They have to change between one track, the other track, the other track, the other track. Very inefficient. So, and we'll talk about that more. And I want to talk about an idea in the East called the Dao. And Dao means the way or path, but if you think about it, it combines effectiveness and efficiency. So efficiency is about how efficient are you in getting a task done? Time, energy, resource. That's efficiency. Effective means, does it work? So our current system is highly efficient in seeing patients. We're very, very good at seeing patients. Are we highly effective in seeing patients? No, we're not. If you have, I'm guessing that you covered the healthcare trends in this class. In the future, by 2050, very good percentage of people will have diabetes. I think a third is estimated, like third of the population will have diabetes. That alone will cripple our healthcare system the way it is. So I look to, this is an example of Aikido from Wikipedia, and here's a gentleman seated down, and this person is doing a technique which you can see person is very effective and also very efficient economically. So this is something that I think about when we treat our patients. How can we be like this, efficient and effective at the same time? One of the troubles that I think that people have in Western medicine, or what Western medicine has to do with people, is paradigm. And paradigm means that what ideas are behind Western medicine. Western medicine is behind science and technology, which is based on Cartesian model of repeatability and predictability. And this is very, very simple. Anything to be true in science, in Western logic, a thing has to be repeatable. So for example, when you go to your car and start your engine, right? It starts. If it doesn't start, it has no use for you, right? It's a problem. And then the mechanic thinks about different reasons why it's not working. In Western science, reliability is very important. Repeatability is very, very important. The second, but if you think about it, the world that you live in is not very simple, is it? How many people here had relationships? Most of you. Would you say that your boyfriend, girlfriend are very simple? If you had problems, was it very simple to solve? How about communication? That was easy, right? No. So the Cartesian logic of repeatability and predictability falls flat on its face when you add complexity called human beings. People are complex. How about everyone has lived until today? How many people had exactly the same day ever? Thousands of days, tens of thousands of days. How many people here had exactly same things happen in the same day and felt exactly the same way? So inherently, life is not repeatable. Yet, our left brain demands that's the case. Complexity is more like people and friendships that you have. It's self-organizing, multiple parts interacting, interrelated, interdependent, and unpredictable ways. And this is, I think, in a way, failure of medical system to take the most complex in the medical care is what? Is people. It's you and your family, you and your friends. So in family therapy, we say the idea is that the person who is in the therapy may not be the problem. Meaning that wife says, hey, my husband's beating me. So who's the problem? Is the wife the problem? No, it's not the problem. So in family therapy, a lot of times the pathology is in the dynamic of the family, or they're not present because they're saying, hey, it's not my problem. It's, you have the problem. You go to therapy. Another idea to look at it is diseases are multifactorial. So you have genetics, behavioral behaviors, depression, social support can all contribute to heart attack. And you can't say one thing caused everything. So other example is infertility, cancer, etc. Another idea is that living networks are tied into interactive networks by what we call weak links, weak ties, and interactive relationship between clusters of more strongly interconnected parts. What that means is that, very simple, is this. Although before this day, you and I were not connected, and we didn't know we were connected, we were somehow still connected. And in complexity science, they say it's the opposite of Cartesian logic. In Cartesian logic, only things that are predictable are important. In complexity science, all the interesting things happen in the periphery, what we call weak link. And think about it. How many people here have been to beaches? Right? Okay. Imagine beach. Beach is where weak link occurs. Right? You have parts of beach that is neither water nor land. So that's very interesting. So if you say, let's take a vacation to beach and take you middle of Atlanta, that's it. It's like not that interesting. Or converse, take you out 5 miles out in the ocean and say, okay, this is beach. Not so interesting. The interesting thing happens right at the edge or where there's weak links where it's neither land nor water. So some of the issues that we're having today is that our paradigm is set up more than 100 years ago when people are dying of infectious diseases. And what happened is that medicine is not inherently scientific. We want to be, but it's not. It's really tradition-driven, culture-driven, if you will. The culture of medicine is actually very, very conservative. And a lot of times, medicine itself rejects its own scientific evidence if it doesn't fit in with the culture. So today, a lot of people who are in the trenches treating medicine don't know this history or have forgotten it. So they don't know that chronic diseases now account for most of the problems in medicine, top 1, 2, 3, but we still use outdated ideas from 100 years ago that worked really well 100 years ago, but today it's failing. So if we have such great medical system and the science to stop the diseases and science only is the answer, why is it that addiction problems are getting worse? Why is it that violence is getting worse? Why is it that obesity is getting worse? Why is it that diabetes is getting worse? Right? Why is it that... so if you look at commonality of those problems, what are they? What's the commonality of those things? Human behavior. Remember I said that simplicity versus complexity? See, simplicity, you only talk about biology, chemistry. The answer is in biochemistry. The answer is look for the defective gene. But what happens if that you start out with a complex creature called human being that's not entirely predictable? And I think that's one of the failings that it does. So the conventional medicine paradigm, Dr. Koch's postulate, he won a Nobel Prize studying anthrax. And basically he said the diseased animals have pathogens. And then you isolate those pathogens and culture them and introduce them from the culture to healthy animal, and then it causes disease. And then you can isolate the pathogen from a diseased animal. This is what we call, commonly we call this a causal chain of events. That you can say definitely this anthrax, and this thing is called anthrax. If you inject it into cow develops anthrax, it dies. And then we can get more anthrax from it, and then culture it, and then do it again and again. And in healthy animals, it doesn't have it. So this way of thinking permeates medicine still. It's a very, very linear way of thinking. And what it does is that it leaves out the complexity of you and your friends or your family. So if you think about complexity, then you're no longer in what I consider a linear world or predictable world. So then you have things like synergy. Synergy is 1 + 1. And everyone who is here today is a product of synergy. your mom and your dad got together, right? What is mathematics? 1 + 1, 2. But it didn't work out that way in biology, right? Your family may be 3, it may be 4, it may be 5. So all of you represent synergy in this way. So another thing that the complexity says is that be open-minded, because before Einstein discovered E = mc², nobody can say that the energy that is possible to get from nuclear fusion or fission was possible. They would say it's impossible. With that amount of material, you can never get the energy that you can get. So integrative medicine is what I do for living, but it's really not my mission. My mission is more integral, building an integral organization. And I want to talk about that a little bit as we goes by. But let's start with integrative medicine. Integrative medicine is my chosen modality or mode, how I make my living and how I earn money or resource for our community that we're building. Integrative medicine is a healing-oriented medicine that takes account of the whole person, mind, body, spirit, including all aspects of lifestyle. So what this says is that from the start, integrative medicine wants to look at you as a complex being. Healing-oriented, we'll talk about it a little bit more, but whole person, mind, body, spirit. So we're no longer interested only in biology or chemistry or your genes. You're more than your gene, sum of your gene pool. What we are interested in you is who are you? Who are you? So in our visit, first round of visit is about 2 hours because we really need to know who you are. And before that, there's a pre-visit lasting anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour. So the first visit, I would say, is about 3 hours. And it's divided into 2 parts because we need to know, what I believe is you have to know the people, who they are. So my mind, body, spirit, all that. And it takes time. You can't just do a 6-minute interaction and say, okay, tell me about mind, body, spirit. Okay, that's it. You get one thing about it. It's not good enough. Second is that it emphasizes the therapeutic relationship. And to me, this is a healing partnership. And I tell patients that I can't do this alone. I need your help because you have to change your biochemistry. And the way you change biochemistry in most profound way is what Hippocrates said. Let food be medicine and medicine be food. Food be medicine and medicine be your food. That's what we ask them to do. It's very difficult. So we do it upfront. That's why we need 3 hours because 1 out of the 3 hours is devoted to food as medicine program. And then second is I do a needs assessment and form a healing partnership. And the most important is that all appropriate therapies are considered, both conventional and alternative. So what I do is I try to understand why the patient is there and what the big picture is and what has been done, what is being thought of being done. So it doesn't mean when patient has, I have cancer, and I say, chemo is bad. Absolutely not. You use all the tools, including chemo, including surgery, appropriately. Having said that, and there are sometimes I will tell patients that they have to look at all options. If I want to partner with them, they can't say, I don't want to do anything except hydrogen peroxide. Because number one, I don't do that. Number two, it makes a problem. It can create more problem if you do not use all the tools. Use all the tools and retain all the options. And then finally, you get to decide what you want to do. So there are different words, holistic medicine, complementary medicine, alternative medicine, and they mean different things, but I think that in cultural context, they mean similar thing, which means that you're doing more than just using drugs, surgery, and procedures to treat people. So healing, and I said that integrative medicine is about healing. Healing versus curing is a little bit different. Healing means that you're returning to the whole, to become whole and sound, return to health, to heal to a spiritual wholeness. Whereas curing is more of recovery from disease, or you say the cats proved to be a good cure for a mouse problem. So cure has a different dimension. So for example, how many people here think that they can escape death? Nobody. Okay, so life carries 100% mortality. So if you say death is a failure, guess what? If you say medicine's job is to fight death and death is failure, then that way of doing medicine is 100% failure, right? Because life is 100% death. So if instead of focusing on the cure, what we say is that you focus on the healing. So healing, what does that mean? When you accept mortality, when you accept that life is impermanent, then what you can accept then is healing other things in life. Even cure is impossible. There's plenty of healing that can take place. So where our work is called Georgia Integrative Medicine, and like I said, that we do review of medical care, and first, but we have a lot of different tools we offer. So yes, I do prescribe medications. This morning I had 2 patients who are very, very ill and needed antibiotics, and I wrote them antibiotics. They came in to see me just for that purpose. Having said that, in most practice, they would not have been seen. The reason they were able to see me is that even though we're operating at 90% plus capacity with 3 weeks of waiting list, we always have room for contingencies, meaning that we never go to 100% full because we anticipate someone they might, in the South, we say they could call you and say, I need your help, right? So we have that capacity, excess capacity. In Western businesses or all businesses, they will not allow that. They will say, oh my God, what's wrong with you? We need that excess capacity to turn into full capacity, and we want you to operate at 115% at all times. That's going to maximize profit. We don't do that. Number one, it burns out my team members. Number two, when there's patients who need help, then they need to be helped now, not later, not tomorrow. One of the things, 3 things they said, you make a great doctor. Number one, he said, this you may want to write down if you want to become a healer of some sort. He said, you have to be available. Number one. Number two, he said, you have to be affable. Number 3, you have to have ability. So he said, the problem is all the healers only know to focus on the last one, which is ability. And they don't teach you. Doctors don't have manner schools. Who knows? It might be better if they have cotillion for doctors. Before you get out, you learn your manners. That you cannot talk for first 1 minute. You have to listen to patients. The statistics say that doctors interrupt patients every 7 seconds, I think. That's what they say. It's terrible. So we do all mind-body medicine, counseling. We are doing something that I don't think anyone else is doing, which is we want to have counselors working as medical assistants. Do you know what medical assistants are? Medical assistants are first people you see after receptionists. They take you in, take your vital, they talk to you, why are you here? Well, the conventional medical assistant just wants to know why you're here. Our medical assistants are trained to listen. Both of them have a lot of training in listening and assessing people psychologically. And then they come back to me and say, okay, so-and-so is here, but you should also know the person appears to be depressed or is stressed. So there are different dimensions that we are screening them. We're not just saying, oh, you're here for medical work or acupuncture. We want to know as much whole picture as possible. So we also recommend training in mindfulness, self-hypnosis, guided imagery, expressive art therapy. I told you nutrition is very, very important. It is true, you are what you eat because your biochemistry, all the raw material is determined by what you eat. And then exercise, what you do with it, and then sleep, recharging your batteries. And then Chinese medicine is very dear to me, so I practice Chinese medicine, acupuncture, qigong, herbal medicine. And then we also have people doing energy medicine, Reiki, Qigong, and reflexology. And I do practice some manipulative medicine in the form of craniosacral strain, counter-strain, and we have people who do craniosacral therapy in-house. And then very unique, actually, this is the only clinic that I know, at least in the US, that has a classical homeopathy person full-time in-house. And this is very different, and I decided to do some things very, very different. When I was a consultant running around from East Coast to West Coast, North and South, I found out something very, very, very interesting, that there's a commonality to conventional medicine and integrative medicine. What's the commonality? Irrational greed, right? It's run by the system that wants to have integrative medicine. Oftentimes it's hospital. Hospitals only make money when you get sick and when you get admitted and they do procedure, right? So first of all, if integrative medicine is 100% successful in eliminating heart disease, would it be good for a hospital or bad for the hospital? It would be very bad for the hospital. So in the beginning I thought, oh, these hospitals they don't know how to do this, they're not smart enough to do this. And then about a couple of years into it, oh my God, they are smart. Of course they're smart. What they want is a program that pretends that they care about you, right? Make you feel good, but actually don't make a big difference. So that's what I found out. So I said, okay, if that's the case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a simulation in my head, and what would I do differently? What would I do differently? These are ideas that came to me. So one of the things that I decided to do differently is this. Everywhere I went to, they use part-time help. Why? Part-time help is cheaper. Why? They don't have to pay benefits. They also don't make them employees. They make them independent contractors. How many people here worked as independent contractors? So what happens to your taxes when you're independent contractors? Goes up or down? Up, right? Because the employers also pay for employees part of the Social Security tax. So and payroll tax, all the different things. It's cheaper not to have employees. So in Georgia Integrative Medicine, which I founded, I decided to do it opposite. Everyone's an employee, preferably full-time. And we're in the process of defining full-time as 3 full days, so that if you're a mother, it will be more friendlier workplace. And that's something that's very different, and what it does is very, very profound. When you are an employee, you get paid regardless of you see patients or not. You're not dependent on production. But when you're an independent contractor, guess what happens? You're competing against other independent contractors in your outfit. Every other place that I've been to, what they do is, oh, our team work together. Let it be Canyon Ranch, Marable. So it looks nice. People appear to be happy, but they're intensely competing with each other. So here, we do the opposite. We tell them, okay, your salary is guaranteed. It's not much, but it's guaranteed. You don't have to fight. And if the clinic does well, you get a bonus. Everyone gets a bonus. So the setup that we have creates a different dynamic. So a lot of times when patients walk in to our place, integrative medicine these days is not that big of a deal. If you go outside, there are a lot of people who are interested and who are providing this kind of care. So what's different about when they come to our clinic is that they say, something's different about this place. Something is different. When we walk in, we can tell. And so some of them ask me, and some of them actually are my colleagues who have asked me to write a book about it. So that's a second book that I'm working on, is about just what is different about the way that we do our business at Georgia Integrative Medicine. And that is integral medicine, or integral way of healing. What that means is that our team members all here, just any other integrative medicine center will have most of these, except homeopathy, because that's a bit more controversial. Having said that, the big difference is that our people have been bonded 7 years. 7 years we've been together, and 7 years we have had very difficult times where we have to make decisions. Do we all take pay cuts together, or do we let some of the people go? And each and every time that we had that, we decided to take a pay cut. Not because I own the business, I can't say that. It's illegal. It's everyone saying that, hey, we want to petition you, reduce my salary. Last time that we had difficulty, one of the team members came and says, hey, Jeannie can't take any more pay cut. I know that. Cut my salary. I want you to cut my salary by 20%. I can take the hit better than Jeannie. Just give it back to me when you can. So it builds a different kind of relationship. So because the healers are treated differently, right? Healers are treated differently. Then the healers, then they do the work on people. They can just focus on the work, and they are encouraged to team build. And one of the ways that's very different is that we do tea sharing. It's not tea ceremony, although that's what I learned. But I found out tea ceremony is a bit too formal, and I'm not that formal. And I hate being formal. So I said, let's have tea sharing. So several times a day, people, all the team members gather around in round table and have tea, and I serve them the tea. And that means that because the rest of the time they're helping me, so I have to serve them also. And that really has been, I would say, a secret to building a very, very strong team together. And just like I alluded to, that's what I think synergy is about. So in where we are, when we refer to people, there is no competition, because people know that only time they truly win is patients do really well and recommend this to other patients, and then they get a bonus that way. If the clinic doesn't do well, there's not a way for them to do well individually. Rosetto Effect is very, very interesting, and I have the links here, and if you're interested, email me. I'll send you the link, and my email address is at the back, and Ginny, who's there, raise your hand, has my card as well. But 30 years ago, medical researchers were drawn to a town in Pennsylvania called Rosetto. It was very interesting in that the people who live in Rosetto were immune to most common causes of death, and they died of heart attack only 1/2 of the rest of America. So some interesting things. Rosetto was founded by Italians. So they said, oh, these Italians, Mediterranean diet. Everyone knows Mediterranean diet has olive oil, and that's why they're living healthy. Well, the folks who went to Rosetto were not very rich. So they ate just like other Pennsylvanians. They ate sausage grease, lard. And so they said, hey, what's going on here? Something's really interesting. What's interesting is that in Rosetto, they had a tight-knit community. There, they had a strong work ethic. They had work ethic that was not about, oh, let's accumulate more things. It was about, let's help other people. Let's help the second generations. Let's work hard to make our community better. And then something interesting happened. In Rosetto, people got caught up to the rest of America. So they became a suburb. And guess what happened to this protective effect? It disappeared. So why do you think one of the reasons that I'm creating a tight-knit community where I work is I'm hoping to recreate Rosetto effect? So one of the things that we do is we don't maximize on profit. We don't maximize on profit because we know in the long run that's going to kill our people. We want everyone to run about 70 to 80%. Unfortunately, nowadays, because of the demand, we're running about 90%. So now we are out beating the bush, trying to look for the right person. And probably the search will not end until we find the right person. This week, next week we'll be flying in 2 candidates from California to interview them. And Jennifer, who's been my student at University of West Georgia, is also hoping to be competing for that space. Until the right person is found, we're just not going to hire people. Instead, we're going to put limits on how much people we can see, meaning we're going to turn down money. And it's very, very counterintuitive, but the thing is that, remember I told you about efficiency and effectiveness? We're very effective, probably about 80% to 90% effective. And this is after people go and get treated elsewhere. People go to Mayo, people go to Emory, and then they don't find any answers, they come to us. And some of them I can't find answers either, but about 80 to 90%, we appear to be getting very, very satisfactory results as defined by patient satisfaction. And some of them I think can be placebo, which is they feel good because I've created this community, and that people think infectious disease is infective only, but it's not true. Feelings are infectious. What happens if someone yawns? Other people yawn. What happens if you have someone who's really peppy in your group? Everyone gets more peppy. So people's attitudes and ideas are infectious as well, I think. So I want to open to the floor to questions, but I want to invite you to lunch. This is our Friday lunch scene. This is an honored guest, Susanna, who is now my research assistant at University of West Georgia. This is Allison, who was my research assistant before her. Nola, who's the chef. Very, very important person, chef. In Zen community, chef is given to the title Tenzo, and it's only given to someone very, very highly respected. And our Tenzo, Nola, is highly loved and respected. Jeannie is our clinic manager, but she also does mind-body medicine. Vina is a CPA. And we're very fortunate because Vina is a SEC accountant who used to work for Piedmont Fayette. And we were able to steal from her from Fayette Hospital. You know how? When her child got sick, the Piedmont Fayette yelled at her, saying, "How dare that your child get sick? It's payroll week. It's very, very inconvenient for us." So instead I said, "You come and go as you like. You don't have to come in. Our books just need to be in balance and to pay the bills." So we retained her for several years, and hopefully we'll retain her more. Our newest addition, Kelly. Kelly was a physical therapist who was burnt out because they're giving her more patients, more patients, more patients, more patients. And here, we put a limit to how many people she can see. We also create times that she can rest. So any one of you are invited to contact Jeannie for lunch and tea. Monday, Wednesday, Fridays tea, and lunch and tea. And if you're interested, you can contact Jeannie. And this is how you can contact me directly.
The preceding program is copyrighted by Emory University.